Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Much to Donald Trump's chagrin, I don't know that I've ever used the word chagrin before, but when it's related to Donald Trump, I'm happy to break it out. Much to Donald Trump's chagrin, this Jeffrey Epstein thing is just absolutely not going away, blowing up in his face. I got a lot of details that you should stick around for. First, let's talk about this bombshell resurfacing of a deposition, a short clip from a deposition of Jeffrey Epstein during one of his criminal cases, in which he pleads the fifth when asked about his relationship with Donald Trump and if he's ever been in the presence at one of his little parties when there was a minor there. Seems like a question that you could be able to easily answer without incriminating yourself, correct? Before we get to that, though, let me remind you about Donald Trump's long-held opinion about people who plead the fifth, who assert their Fifth Amendment right under the Constitution of the United States.
So there are 5 people taking the Fifth Amendment, like you see on the mob, right? You see the mob takes the Fifth. If you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment?
If you're innocent, why are you taking the Fourth Amendment? Now, we know Donald Trump has taken the Fifth Amendment, asserted his rights under the Constitution of not self-incriminating hundreds of times in deposition. So we know that he has not moored to some true ideology or principle surrounding whether or not someone asserts their Fifth Amendment right. But it is nice to hear the man who's embroiled in all of this controversy say, if you're innocent, why are you asserting the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution? Why? Well, his best friend, as described by Jeffrey Epstein, of nearly 15 years, maybe longer, was in a deposition, and that's exactly what happened. The good thing here, the interesting thing here, the notable thing here is that the question was directly related to Jeffrey Epstein's gallivanting, his partying, his criminal proclivities toward children, and if it took place when Donald Trump was in his presence. Watch this.
Efforts to shake the Epstein case have only increased scrutiny of their friendly relationship of more than a decade. Epstein was asked about it in a 2010 deposition in a civil suit.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
I realize after rewatching the clip that I said this was in a criminal deposition. This was actually a civil case, as noted there by ABC. So let's get a couple things straight here. Let's get a couple things on the table here. If the answer to the question was, yes, I've been in the presence of Donald Trump while socializing with a female under the age of 18, and if that female had been Ivanka Trump, he would have said, well, yeah, of course. Ivanka's been there before. Yeah, of course. But by asserting his Fifth Amendment right under the Constitution against self-incrimination, he's saying, I would tell you, I'd love to answer, but if I tell you, I will incriminate myself. Going back to Donald Trump's earlier statement that if you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth? That's where this hinges here. That's the point here, is that his answer, if given honestly, under oath during this deposition, it would incriminate him. Which leads us to what is taking place right now, with Donald Trump having been told back in May that his name was all over, his fingerprints were all over the Epstein file. And he dispatched 1,000 FBI agents, 1,000 bodies to investigate, to go through, to pour through the hundreds of thousands of documents to see where, how many times and in what context his own name would be found. This is an abject misuse of the federal government. The FBI are not his personal errand boys to extricate him from his own problems, from the problems he made by being best friends with a notorious sexual predator. That's not their job. But also, going to the hypocrisy of all of this, when we're a country of law and order, and there's so many other things out there that the FBI should be setting their attention to, Donald Trump sets aside 1,000 bodies and who knows how many tens of thousands of hours of labor, of attention that they could be putting elsewhere to solve crimes. He has them doing this.
We were contacted by a highly credible whistleblower describing Attorney General's pressure on FBI to quickly review and produce more Epstein documents as promised. For 2 weeks in late March, the FBI assigned approximately 1,000 personnel in its Information Management Division and hundreds of additional agents from the New York field office to work 24-hour shifts to review and produce more Epstein documents. These officials were told to, quote, flag any records in which President Trump was mentioned. Essentially, agents were pulled out of their field from their work combating narcotics and violent crime to review this mountain of documents. Other important FBI work was effectively shut down, according to the whistleblower. Using tens of thousands of personnel hours at the expense of public safety for no other reason than to try to bolster baseless claims you've made is unconscionably reckless. President Trump has not helped the situation. Despite his administration continually making promises about transparency on Epstein and the existence of records that they have not produced, he is currently telling the country that it is all a, quote, scam, unquote. Last week, President Trump posted on his personal social media site, and I quote, "My past supporters have bought into this BS, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will," unquote, from President Trump. This is the way the president is talking about his own constituents, who are raising concerns about the very claims President Trump's campaign surrogates and administration officials have repeatedly raised. President Trump and Attorney General Bondi are directly responsible for the confusion and mistrust around Epstein's prosecution. Attorney General Bondi, in particular, owes both Congress and the American people the truth about Jeffrey Epstein, the whole truth and nothing less.
And this is why the fervor is at full pitch now. This is why all of these efforts are being done, is to try to get Donald Trump out of the trouble that he is in, related to something heinous and horrible that has whipped the MAGA base into a frenzy, some conspiracy-based, some based in reality. Like any good conspiracy, there's a hint of truth to it. And we're getting to the bottom of it now. This could be the thing that sinks Donald Trump. This could be the thing that has the base turn against him when they open their eyes and they realize, wait, our golden god, our demigod, our cult leader isn't the thing we thought he was. Pretty remarkable. I would invite your participation in this conversation. You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Follow me on social media if you're around on social media. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and Blue Sky, Threads, and not on Nazi Twitter, but everywhere else. I'd love to see you there. I will see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another. The headlines obviously talked about the passing of Trump's big, beautiful bill. But did you catch what the headlines did not make note of? This same beautiful bill hands over nearly $40 billion of our tax dollars to ICE per year. This is more money than most countries spend on their entire military. And we're granting it to our version of the secret police. Despite raids on the increase and Trump's near constant mention of deporting U.S. citizens, much of our mainstream media has avoided talking about this funding increase. Or worse, they have twisted the bill's language to frame this spending as good for the citizens of the United States. This should be the biggest story in America right now, and it's not. And look, you'd be naive to think that this is anything other than by design from the GOP. Tools like ground news are an essential part of your news consumption for examples just like this. By gathering the world's news in one place, organizing it by story, and then analyzing just how far right, how radical each unbiased source actually is, ground news will expose blind spots like this ICE funding, and it will give you more context than you can get anywhere else. Shouldn't we be learning from history? We have seen Trump's playbook before, and the comparisons to regimes of misinformation and terror are alarmingly plentiful. Ground news will help you stay ahead on immigration, the economy, or simply bring your attention to stories missing from your newsfeed. Both Ground News' app and their website are smarter, more reliable ways to access the news unfiltered, to stay informed in the face of MAGA wanting to keep us in the dark. Scan this QR code or head to ground.news/Dollemore now to score 40% off the same Vantage plan that I use, which gives you unlimited access for just $5 per month. Or simply click the link in the description below to begin saving big. The right is absolutely banking on you to be uninformed. Stay ahead and see all the news with Ground News.